Hello guys, this is Steno for All YouTube channel. Here we provide you Hindi or English shorthand dictations at different speed. Today I am going to provide you English dictation at which will help you in various Steno skill tests. Get ready for 120 word per minute shorthand dictation. Start. China's one child policy OCP was conceived by senior leader Deng Xiaoping in 1979 to seek popular support for the Chinese Communist Party CCP after Mao's disastrous Great Leap Forward and Cultural Revolution, which led to the death of about 60-65 million people. Professor David Lampton, an American sinologist, observed that Deng was worried that if the party did not produce significant gains in per capita income, it would lose what little legitimacy it had retained. Policy fallout. The results of the one child policy have been disastrous. Average birth rate in China has fallen to 1.6 births per woman, National Bureau of Statistics of China in 2017, though the unofficial figures put it as low as 1.05, the United States 1.77, India 2.24, and much less than the population replacement rate of 2.1. Fewer children were born, and of them fewer were females, given China's preference for boys like in some other countries. Research by Professor Ye Fujian 2019 at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, US reveals that the proportion of China's population aged above 65 years would increase from 10% in 2010 to 32.6% in 2050. Corresponding figures for India are 5.6% and 14.2%, and the US 14.6% and 23.2%. Its labor force ages 2064 will reduce from about a billion in 2017 to 787 million by 2050. Thus, China will be a country dominated progressively by older people in the coming years. Despite the raising of the limit to 2 children in 2016, the number of newborns has not improved and slipped to the pre-2016 level. The one-child policy has changed China's childbearing attitudes for the worse, as many young couples do not want to have two babies for economic and lifestyle reasons. Professor Fujian has affirmed that China's population has started contracting from 2018 onwards. Local authorities in China blocked the births and school enrollment figures to seek more funds from the central government. If China can stabilize its fertility rate at 1.2, its population will fall to 1.07 billion in 2050 and 480 million by 2100. The implications. The aging population will have a multidimensional impact. China will need huge expenditures on health, social welfare, and pensions. Its savings rate will decline. A fall in the number of young people will lead to decline in manufacturing, exports, and also mean lower revenues for government. With its annual per capita income at $10,000, increasing population of older people and slowing economic growth rates, China will get old before reaching the levels of rich countries like the United States, Singapore, Japan, and others. China's armed forces are already struggling, as many one child policy children are often misfit for fighting in tougher conditions. Will the population decline create a richer society in China? Japanese economist Professor Hisakazu Kato says, using Japanese experience, that it is unlikely as a smaller population reduces intellectual exchanges among diverse human groups, reducing chances of the emergence of great innovators. Developed countries have reduced the impact of declining population by raising the total factor productivity TFP growth ratio of output versus cost of inputs per hourly basis. A rather confident statement heard in the midst of India's COVID-19 induced economic slowdown is this: agriculture will lead India's economic revival. But how valid is this claim put forward by government spokespersons and some observers? Four major arguments are offered. First, India's food grain production in 2019-20 was 3.7% higher than in 2018-19. The procurement of Rabi wheat in 2020-21 was 12.6% higher than in 2019-20. These indicate, it is argued, resilience in the agricultural sector. Second, food inflation in the Q1 of 2020-21 at 9.2% was higher than in the previous year due to sustained demand for food. This shows a shift of terms of trade in favor of agriculture. Third, the area under Kharif sowing in 2020-21 was 14% higher than in 2019-20. Higher Kharif sowing was accompanied by higher tractor and fertilizer sales, which bodes well for economic recovery. Fourth, the government's economic package for agriculture as part of the Rs 20 lakh crore Atmanirbhar Bharat package will further position agriculture as the engine of revival. Let us now consider each of the above chains. Rabi procurement. During the lockdown, state governments in many northern states put in considerable efforts to ensure that procurement did not suffer. As a result, procurement of Rabi wheat was higher in 2020-21. However, this claim hides more than it reveals. As per official data, only 13.5% of paddy farmers and 16.2% of wheat farmers in India sell their harvest to a procurement agency at an assured minimum support price (MSP). The rest sell their output to private traders at prices lower than MSP. One should then be looking not a procurement but market arrivals. I compared total market or arrivals of 15 major crops in India between March 15 and June 13 in 2019 and 2020. The market arrivals of all the 15 crops were lower in 2020 than in 2019. It was only in paddy, lentil, tomato and banana that market arrivals in 2020 constituted more than 75% of market arrivals in 2019. In wheat, barley, potato, cauliflower, cabbage and lady's finger, market arrivals in 2020 were between 50% and 75% of market arrivals in 2019. For gram, pigeon pea, onion, peas and mango, market arrivals in 2020 were less than half of market arrivals in 2019. In wheat, the most important Rabi crop, only 61.6% of the arrivals in 2019 was recorded in 2020. Thus, the most important problem faced by farmers during the lockdown was the loss of markets stemming from the disruption in supply chains, closure of mandis and a fall in consumer food demand. Farmers suffered major loss of incomes and higher procurement was hardly alleviating. In addition, there were major losses in the milk, meat and poultry sectors. Industry associations estimated the total loss for the poultry industry at Rs 25,000 crore. Inflation and prices. Inflation rates estimated using consumer price indices are not representative of farmers' prices. Inflation was largely due to disruptions in supply chains and rise in trader margins. I examined the wholesale market prices for 15 agricultural commodities between March 15 and June 30, 2020. Prices of most crops declined. For example, average paddy prices were about Rs 1,730 per quintal on March 23rd, but Rs 1,691 per quintal on June 30. Average wheat prices were Rs 2,045 per quintal on April 1 but rupees 1865 per quintal on June 30. A moderate uptick in prices was visible in a few vegetables but not before June 2020. The dark side of higher rural inflation in India is that small and marginal farmers are not net sellers but net buyers of food. So it was not just the farmers' prices fell, most were also forced to pay more for food purchases. There is also strong evidence from small sample surveys that rural households reduced food purchases during the lockdown. Thus, the claims that higher rural inflation benefited farmers and that it was due to higher food demand are misplaced. Higher Kharif sowing. There is no surprise in the growth of Kharif sowings in 2020, given that Rabi incomes fell during the lockdown. Many rural households may have returned to farming or